Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming over. It's been been one hell of a ride since we met each other back, I don't know, like couple years ago now. But
isn't that weird? It doesn't seem like it's that long. I was thinking like, yeah, a couple months, but no, it's actually been years.
yeah, I think I started, early of 2024. So, yeah, it's been 2 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool to see how much the gym's changed since then, all the additions and all the pieces of equipment, and then now the bunker. So
yeah,
sweet, dude.
Man, did you see the bunker when I very first started? With all that dirt and everything?
Yeah, I was taking some videos of you. They had just like inches and inches of dirt.
Oh, yeah.
There.
Yep. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm going to open up a supplement store. But as I was digging, I'd be like 2 hours into it, and I'd look around, and I've only got like maybe 6 foot by 4 foot dirt gone. And I'm thinking, man, am I really going to be able to do this? But I just kept going down there every day. And now it's actually a legit like supplement store, which is pretty unique because how we did it with the bunker, the old World War II theme, a lot of like old gas masks, a lot of artillery containers. And it's almost like a little bit of a museum that's a supplement store, but it makes it pretty unique.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool. It's attached. Well, it's beneath the bunker.
Yeah.
Because it's beneath, it's in a little, like a basement kind of thing. So the name matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been cool. I remember when you were starting it, and I was videoing you. It's just dirt everywhere. You're just wheelbarrowing everything.
All you can see is my white eyes.
Yeah,
yeah.
You had the N95 masks on and the fans to try and get some of the dust out. Oh man, that's crazy. But it's cool because you had a vision and you brought it all to life.
And it's weird because like even then, even though I kind of doubted it because I was looking around and going, oh man, there's no way. I just kept telling myself, well, you ain't got nothing else to do. Why don't you go down there and do a little bit more work? And a little bit more work. And after, I think it took me about 5 weeks, I went to the dump a couple times because there was a bunch of like old furnaces, just a bunch of junk down there too that I had to haul out. And then once I got everything cleared out and the contractor came in and put in the wall, and then I was like, oh, wow, I'm really doing this. Because you kind of believe it. You got that little bit of belief, or at least you have to have it because you're telling everybody you're doing it. So it's like, oh, I better do it. And then it actually turned out to be a really, really cool thing.
Yeah. Ran into a couple snags along the way, but you were able to figure those things out and just readjust and keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. What was it that you just decided you wanted to do a supplement store anyway?
So I was, me and Eric over at Jackson Nutrition. So Steve passed away, and Steve's dad sold it. And then, I was kind of, with Eric doing that stuff. And then me and Eric were going to open up a Jackson Nutrition in Nampa. And then one opened up in Twin Falls, doing really, really good. And then so I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and part, with Eric and then just start my own store, in Nampa because I didn't want to wait that long. And then so I just decided, well, I'll just do it myself and do the bunker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got all the good stuff. You got the BCAAs, creatine.
Yeah, and then we just picked up Raw, Revived, Redcon 1, I think 4 more. So, because you can't just get them. So you got to send in your paperwork, show, that you have your, everything that you need to actually be a distributor. So we got 4 more today. We did the interviews in the office today, and so now we'll be carrying Redcon 1, Raw, Revived. I don't know if we're doing Ghost or not. I don't know if they've gotten back to us, but yeah, we keep so March 15th will be the actual grand opening because we're slow. So it's open to our members and the members' friends. We still have, like handrails, fire, some little things to do. But then March 15th will be the grand opening, and it'll be a fully loaded. Everything will be done by then. The TVs will be in, the cameras, everything, because I'm cheap. So I figure if I could do it myself, I'm not going to pay somebody to do it. It's mostly the time that, I'm like, okay, I got to, squeeze in a little bit of time. I got the cameras in. I got the wires ran. I just don't have the holes drilled, to put them up to the receiver. I got to get a bigger screen for my office because now I think there's 12 cameras in the whole facility. And those little squares are so little on the TV that I have. I think I got like a 42 inch. So I'm going to get a 72 inch to put in my office and then just take that little one and put it down in the bunker so I could watch YouTube videos.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that'd be sweet. And you're gonna get you got the Hunter Labrada series, and you said he's gonna be there for the grand opening, right?
Yep. Hunter Labrada and a bunch of gas competitors and stuff, and there'll be giveaway gas bags, So and Hunter Labrada is really he's been him and Corey Linder and they just been really really super supportive, and they think they're like, wow, this is really cool. I think it's because it's so unique, So
yeah, because there's a lot of supplement stores around, but the fact that it's, very selective of what you guys are putting in there, things that people actually need and not things that are full of junk either, like things that are actually quality.
Yeah, and the fact that we don't have any overhead. I own the building and everything. So like normal supplement stores, they have, a markup because, they have to because they got to cover their lease, they got to cover their power, they got to cover their employees, a lot of, things, janitorial, there's a lot of things to cover. But I own the building, so really my overhead is paying a kid, one to manage it, and maybe 3 kids part-time and then somebody to clean it, So I could sell supplements for cheaper, at discount prices, compared to everybody else. So like if you find a supplement for cheaper, I'll match the price.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sweet, man. It's cool too just to know the backstory of where you come from and to see like all the progress that you've done in your own life, and like now you just keep growing and making. This is what, your 3rd or 4th gym you've had?
This is the 4th gym, 1st supplement store, 2nd online coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool, man. For the people that don't know you, let's just go back to like who is Charlie Fortik and where you came from, and because it's a cool story.
Yeah. So I was born here in Idaho. I think 5th grade. I moved to Portland. Well, I actually moved to Vancouver, Washington, because I'm from family problems and stuff like that. So I moved to Vancouver, lived with some outlaw bikers, for a little while, and then Danny Ward got released from a halfway house. Then we moved over to Portland. I lived with him, and then I came back and forth, from Boise to Portland. But I was an ornery kid. Like I didn't grow up with any kind of rules, so I kind of did whatever I wanted.
Starting at what age did you start getting ornery?
Oh, probably. Well, you want to hear something funny? Is I just had lunch with Mrs. Jarvis, which was my elementary school principal. At Whittier Elementary, and she told me some stories about me that was kind of funny. So I just want to share this one. Anytime we had a substitute teacher in our class, they would have me come down to the office and do office work, like organize all the paper in the closet and all this stuff. And I thought it was just because I was special. Well, she told me just recently, no, we did that because no substitute teacher would make it past lunch if I was in the classroom. That's how ornery I was. So, but I was pretty ornery, even in elementary school, so, and then it progressed, then I like to fight,
Well, in elementary, was that when you were like going from house to house and stuff? And
so I would be left at places, and then Mrs. Jarvis, that was another thing, is she kind of knew a lot of it, but back then there really wasn't one time I remember I lost my lunch tickets because you get free lunches. And she knew that I didn't, really have any way to eat, besides going to McDonald's and getting food out of the garbage can or, Clover Club and getting the expired chips, at home. So she made sure that I always had lunch. She was a really, really good lady. Like she knew without ever saying or making me feel different than anybody else, so she was a really good lady.
What were some of the things as a kid that were just normal to you, and now looking back on it, you're like, that was definitely not normal?
Honestly, I thought going into McDonald's garbage cans and getting all the Big Macs and stuff, I thought, oh yeah, man, I bet you other kids wish that they got to eat Big Macs whenever they wanted, which is now I look back and I think, oh my gosh. And and I had these little routes, like, there was Clover Club in Garden City, there was Frito-Lay in Garden City, and there was McDonald's downtown Boise. And so it was all within, and I rode a little BMX bike. So I'd go around every night, get all the food for, a couple days, and that was kind of how we lived.
And you were living, you said, in like was it at this age you were living in a camper topper in the middle of a field or something?
I was on 34th in Garden City in a trailer that should have been condemned. And my mom and sister lived there, Yvonne and Loretta. And then one day I think Garden City said, hey, you guys can't occupy this anymore because it was so, like the windows were busted out. It was really not livable. So Yvonne, my mother, she lived with her boyfriend, and I don't know where Loretta went. And so there was really nowhere for me to go. I stayed with a couple buddies on their couches every once in a while, and I was like in 5th grade back then. Yeah. So then there was
10 years old.
Yeah. And then I knew how to get food and everything. And there was this camper shell in the middle of a field on not the riverside, the opposite side on 42nd. And I pretty much lived in there. I mean, it wasn't a camper shell. It was like a camper that goes on a truck. Oh, so it had a little bed in there. There was no water or anything, but it had a sink. So I made it kind of cool. And then the shop, there was a shop, and I found an extension cord, and I ran an extension cord to it. So I had a radio in there and stuff. So I lived there for probably, I think about 3 months, as a little kid, like 12 years old.
So did your mom know you were or were you just kind of running, and then you were going to school still then?
Yeah. So I went to see if I could stay with my mom, but her boyfriend didn't like me, so she let me know that it was an inconvenience for me to be there. And so I asked her like years later when I was older, I said, "Hey, why'd you do that?" And she's all, "Well, because I thought that you had enough friends that you could always just stay with them," which is kind of a lousy excuse, but that's what she told me.
Yeah. What was that story you were telling me about that you had to do dishes?
Oh my goodness. So she had a boyfriend, Dennis Cabrera, and I was probably 4 years old, 4, maybe 5. And this guy, he was just extremely mean. He used to beat my mom up too. He never beat up Loretta though for some reason, but he would really put it to me one time, well, lots of times, but he would fill up the sink with the water as hot as he could, and he'd give me 10 minutes to get the dishes done. And I was a little kid, and I had to get them done, but my hands would be bright red, because if not, I was going to catch a beating for not getting the dishes done, or I'd have to do them all again. He owned a landscaping company, and I remember one time I was out watering. Well, I was supposed to go water all the plants, and it's a pretty big, landscaping company, and you got to figure at 5 years old, you're going to miss some plants. And I guess I missed some. And boy, he kicked me in the butt so hard. Man, I'm sure since then I've been kicked pretty hard, but man, that was a shock to me.
So, you're going to school and everybody else sees that you're ornery, but they're not seeing what's going on at your home front then.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was my rebellious, like I was so mad at everything, and there was never anybody to protect me. Like I didn't have, no, like,
brothers or anything?
No, nobody to really protect me, so I pretty much was honoring and protecting myself. I guess that's how I figured I was protecting myself is, if somebody got close or did something, I was quick to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was, and then when was the outlaw thing? Because you grew up kind of around like the outlaw motorcycle clubs and everything too. Was that later in life then?
So in 1981, Danny Ward was released from prison, and we lived in Wiley Lane apartments, and my mother introduced me to him and said it was my dad, which he couldn't have been my dad because he was in prison for killing John Brennan at the time that I would have been conceived. But I didn't know that as a kid, so I grew up thinking it was my father. I got to give props to he grew up in foster care over in Salt Lake, and he kind of grew up like I did, but he had absolutely no obligation to me, no nothing, and he really like giving me a place to live, when he got in a halfway house, he took care of me for no reason, like just because he loved me. And I think he was probably one of the only people that I ever really felt loved by, even though his life, he didn't really know how to raise a boy because he grew up in foster care. Like he taught me how to drill a floor safe, and use a steering wheel, the tool that you use to pull steering wheels off cars, how to drill it and pull the safe open so I could get the money out of the safes in those old garages.
Really?
Yeah. In Portland, they still had those old garages with the safes in the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what he went in for? Was robbery or something? Or?
I think he went in. So before, I think he went in California for bank robbery. Then he went in for killing John Brennan. And then he did an appeal. They lost all the evidence, so he only did 6 years. And then he was in and out my whole life. So drugs, violence, he was a career criminal. That was his life.
So how did he meet your mom? Was it before then or something? Or
I don't really know. I think he knew I think my mother, Yvonne, met him before he went to prison. You know, and that's the bad thing is I don't really know anything about Yvonne. I know she's my biological mother. I don't know her mother. I don't know her sisters. I don't know any. I know she had a sister named Kay that passed away. She's got a sister named Dory, but I don't know any of their last names, and I don't know their kids or anything like that. I know Becky and Keith, Kay's kids, but I don't really know them.
Didn't you tell me too that you didn't even know your real name or something for a while?
So when I went to college, so I thought my name was Charlie Fortik, which that's what I went by my whole life. I guess my mother married a man named Merle Fortik when I was young, and I ended up with his name. But I went all the way through school, everything under Charlie Fortik. I got my driver's license in Portland under Charlie Fortik because I had my activity card and my First Security bank card. And that's back then, that's all you needed, you know, to get your driver's license. So when I went to register for college, they said, well, we need your birth certificate, you know. And so I went to get it, and they said, William Charles Ade. And Mom, this is the wrong person. But then I thought my mom had another son because it had her name, and then it had William Charles Ade as the father. So I was a junior. But then I went and I got my name legally changed after college because I was like, that's not me. You know, I don't know who, you know.
Yeah.
So everything's been kind of, I don't know. I'm not going to say fake, but there was no like stability ever. You know, I mean, who goes through their whole life and not knowing what their real name is? You know, there was just no communication or any kind of structure growing up. It was like I was born and I was kind of just there. You know?
Yeah. Once you got into like your teenage years, what was that life like? Did you start getting jobs or hustling or?
So at 12 years old, I started working. I was selling candy door to door for, it was, gosh, I can't remember the name of, it was a long time ago. But there was a guy, his name was Jeff. I remember his name. He'd come pick all of us kids up in a van, and he would have a bunch of like candy and stuff like that. And we'd carry these totes and we'd go door to door selling candy, and he would pay us at the end. So that was my job for a long time.
Wow.
And then after that, I mean, I moved to Portland, Vancouver. I mean, I did illegal things in Idaho too, you know. I never really, you know, nothing crazy, you know, but like stealing bikes and, you know, stuff like that. Okay, so maybe that's where I think things are normal. I almost said, you know, like every kid does.
Yeah.
But no. But then when I moved to Portland, that's when I got into like more serious crimes, like, you know, drilling the safe, pulling, you know, money out, stealing boat motors, selling them, stealing driving lawnmowers, selling them, you know, more, you know.
What age
like
is that when you moved to Portland?
So it was my sophomore year because I remember I bought a Nova my sophomore, and then by the time I was a junior, I had enough money to where, and I went to Lincoln High, the richer area. I lived in St. John's, which is really, really poor. So I'd go all the way over to the West Hill to be with the richer kids to act like, you know, I was not wealthy, but, you know, put on a facade that, hey, you know, I'm, you know, normal. But I had enough to where I bought a really, really nice CJ7. You know, I had a stereo in it and stuff. And so I always had, you know, a couple $100. So I'd fit in. But it was because I was going out on the weekends and I was committing, you know, crimes, you know. So, and that's, I guess, how I lived all the way till, well, pretty much till I got in serious trouble.
Did you ever have any close calls getting caught with like the boat motors or bikes or anything like that?
No, it's weird. And this is how, so one time, you know, those Bobcats, I went and I stole 2 Bobcats.
Like the little tractor things?
Yeah,
or whatever?
the little tractor things. I mean, it was kind of a free-for-all in Portland. You know, I mean, they were more serious about like drug dealers and stuff like that. And I was kind of, you know, I was young, so there was really no attention to me. I took a Chevy truck, and I even stole their trailer. I took a hydraulic. It was like a hydraulic pipe, and I twisted it and twisted it and twisted it till the chain broke on the gate. And then I opened the gate and I backed up, hooked up to the trailer, and I left. And I sold them both for $2,500 a piece. So as a kid, $5,000. That's a lot of money, even though that they're worth way more than that. Now that I'm older, and I thought, man, that guy ripped me off.
So how'd you get introduced to that? Was that something that he just was like, this is how you can make some money? Your dad?
The crowd.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody was into illegal stuff. I don't think that there was anybody that had a normal job. You know, everybody had a hustle, either selling drugs or some kind of something, you know. And if they did have a job, it was because they were on parole.
Right. Like
and they had to, yeah.
Yeah. Dang, man. I think environment is huge, though. Like you're saying, like if you're around that, you just
well, you don't know no different.
Yeah, you'll think it's normal, right?
So I'll tell you this: like, I was 40 years old when I got married, and I've been married twice to the same girl because I didn't know any. Like my perception of being married was way out in left field, way out in left field. You know, like, and even growing up, I never called it like girlfriend, boyfriend. I always said we're hanging out, you know, because it was always kind of like a open, you know, like, hey, if we're having fun with each other, cool, let's hang out. But once it's not fun anymore, then you go your way, I'll go my way, whatever. Or if you find some guy that you're having more fun with, cool, you know, never a jealous thing or anything like that. But once I got married, well, that was not reality. Not at all.
What was your expectations of marriage going into it before you knew?
I thought, because she was really, really cool, and we only knew each other 3 weeks, and we got married. So I thought she was really cool, and I'm like, man, this chick I could hang out with all the time, like buddies. Well, that's not what a marriage is about.
Yeah.
You know? And then so what sealed the deal is, well, she was putting up with me. You know, I would leave, and I wouldn't call her or anything, and she'd be like, well, why didn't you call me? I was worried, you know, and I'd be like, what, are you trying to check up on me? What are you, my probation officer? You know, yeah. What, you know, and I didn't know that she was truly worried about me, you know, because I've never had anybody care for me like that. You know, like growing up, I could be gone, you know, for probably a month and nobody ever, you know, kept tabs on me or anything. So I thought that was kind of strange, you know, and then, you know, the rules, like, you know, dinner, you know, I'm like, everything just seemed so
a little structured.
Yeah, but it seemed kind of fake, you know, because I thought that was like on TV. And so I'm like, yeah, this isn't real. So let's not play like, you know, this is how life really is. Well, that's really how life is. But I didn't know, you know. So, and then what caused the divorce is I had some money that I didn't tell her about, you know, and we're married. And so she was on my regular account. So we had joint accounts and stuff. Well, a piece of mail came and she's like, hey, what is this? And I go, well, that's, you know, like my savings is, you know, I just don't mess with that money. And so why is my name not on it? I go, well, because that's my money, you know, because I kind of grew up like that, you know. And she's like, well, I'm your wife, I should be on it. And I was like, oh, hell no. Then I thought in my head, oh, she just wants my money. Well, she didn't even know about the money. So, you know, but so we got a divorce. And we went about 6 months divorced. And I'm like, man, this sucks. So I got a hold of her. Well, first she blocked me from everything. And I ended up getting a hold of her somehow. And I'm like, hey, let's go have coffee. And she's like, screw you. You know, I'm like, listen, man, coffee, what's the worst that could happen? So we went to coffee, and then I just put everything in her name. And I mean, we got married again within 2 weeks. And I figured I came from nothing. What happens if she does take everything? Well, it's been 11 years and she's still here. And she's a millionaire. Like almost everything's in her name. So,
yeah. Do you think that all of your childhood is like why you didn't really have trust in other people then?
Oh, I know for a fact.
Yeah.
And I still kind of struggle with it. Like even sometimes, like I'll have bad dreams because of the PTSD and I'll have trust issues, but at least Mary's mature enough to where I could talk to her and like, I've been having nightmares of her cheating, which I don't know why. So I asked if I could go through her phone. She let me go through her phone. She was a little bit offended, but she kind of understood. And I told her, she's all, well, usually it's the opposite. You know, if you're, and I go, no, I'm having these really bad dreams and I don't know, you know. And I think what happened was we got really distant because I work a lot. You know, I own 3 businesses. So, you know, if I'm not, and I'm training people, I own the gym, I got online training, I got the bunker, you know, so I think kind of we're not paying attention to each other. And so I've been having these weird dreams.
Yeah.
So we're going to go probably spend a weekend on a date somewhere.
There you go.
Yeah.
So when you're back in high school and you get out of high school, what you were starting to say something about, that's when you started getting really, really into fights and things like that. But you said you got into, what was it, wrestling?
Yeah, so
in high school?
Yeah, well, I got into wrestling really, really young. But I was at PSU watching some fights. I wrestled for Roy Pittman over in Peninsula Park in Portland, and Randy Couture was an assistant coach, and they were short a fighter at 155, and I think I wrestled at 132 or something like that. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but he came up and he's like, "Hey, one of the fighters didn't show up. Would you fight?" I go, "Man, I'm a wrestler, and I fought, but not like that fighting. Like
Street
it was
fights.
almost like a fear of a controlled fight." So I'm like, "No," and he's all, "Listen, $500 win or lose." I'm all, "Where do I change?"
Yeah.
So I knocked him out, but not on purpose. I went for a double leg, and I felt him start to put a guillotine in. And when I went to grab his hips to shoot back, I knocked him out with the back of my head. But everybody thought I got fight of the night because everybody thought I hit him with an uppercut and knocked him out. And all the attention, I loved it. So I stuck with it.
And how old were you at that point?
I think it was in 95. So however old I was, because I remember the year that I started at Team Quest going over there and then to Boise. And then, I just traveled, to all these different places.
So you were a wrestler and then now you're getting into more like MMA stand-up fighting kind of things then?
Yeah. And I trained at Alliance. I trained at the base. I trained at 208 Jiu-Jitsu, and now I'm over at Core Jiu-Jitsu, downtown Nampa. So I still train Jiu-Jitsu, and I train in a gi now. So it's a little bit more challenging because I'm used to wrestling and no gi and stuff like that. So but it's fun.
So when you got that first fight under your belt and you got the taste of victory and what was that like then? You used to just get signed up for more fights?
I thought I was a movie star. I seriously, for all the attention, everybody giving me high fives and stuff, people I didn't know, I was like, wow, this is cool. Yeah. And then, I just kept doing it. And then Scott Marker, he lives here in Nampa, and he was a referee at some of the fights. I ran into him, and he told me, he's all, "Yeah, man, you're like the Tank Abbott back then. People loved you or hated you, and half the people came to see you get beat up." And, because I was cocky, and I was ornery.
What was it that people didn't like about you?
I think that I was overconfident.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Pretty egotistical and stuff.
Yeah.
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 So that's back in the 90s then when you were doing that then?
Yeah. So I
90s?
went pro 2000 and then I retired 2006. My last fight, me and Jeremy Horn went over to Tacoma, Washington, fought in the Tacoma Dome, and I fought Chad Munson. And then after that, I thought, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead.
Yeah. So you went for 6 years then?
Yeah.
So what was that reign like? Did you get to travel a lot, or was that pretty local fights?
Well, local around here, like Oregon, Salt Lake, Idaho once. Well, no, Idaho twice, because there was a summer fight. Oh, that was actually when I was an amateur. So I did amateur fights in Idaho, but then after that, it was like California, King of the Cage, all those. So
was that your main job during that time, or what did you do?
That was, well... That and male stripping.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. All right. Well, you had to have a body for that, right?
That's hilarious because, I danced in Portland. I danced at the Viewpoint. It was a very adventurous, fun, 20s.
So you had a life on stage before you got on the bodybuilding stage.
Yeah. Yep.
Same kind of thing. You're doing a lot of posing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that pretty
a lot
good
of
money?
shaking the hips. Yeah. So you figure I'd work Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and I'd make about $1,000, and then that would pay for the whole week of training as an amateur. And then when I went pro, I still did it occasionally, but it was more like bachelorette parties and stuff like that.
Yeah. Dang, that's cool. I never even knew that.
Yeah. Well, well, everybody's gonna know now, but not a lot of. Well, some people do because I was the Firecracker Charlie or some, because they had a radio ad in Idaho over it.
Oh, really?
Come see Firecracker Charlie or whatever.
Well, Alex Hormozy talks about he was a male stripper too.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I was either bodybuilding or I was male stripping. I was like, if this doesn't work out, let's go back to male stripping. So
yeah,
I guess there's something to that. So what was that like then? You're in your 20s, you got like a little bit of aggression, and now you can. You were probably drinking already before you turned 20s, but was alcohol or any of that like a big thing?
It was weird because I went through a phase and then I didn't drink, and then I went through a phase and then I didn't drink. It seems like when I was focused on fighting, I just wouldn't drink or do anything. I was running a lot, doing all that, and then I'd go like maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months of just being a shit. Then I'd start running out of money and think, okay, you know what, I need to get serious again, and get or something would happen to where I'd start getting depressed and not, you know, happy with my life and be like, okay, I got to clean it up. And then I'd quit drinking for a while. And then, you know, so it was on and off. And people ask if you're an alcoholic. And I go, well, I don't know. And I don't know because I don't want to, you know, say for other people, but for me, I thought it was always like a choice. Like either I was going to be a shit and drink or I was going to be, you know, not, you know. And I mean, even though I used to just drink to get drunk and that was the only purpose to drink, like Mary, she likes doing the like wine parties and stuff like that. And I'll go like maybe have a little bit of wine or something. I'm not really, it's weird. It's almost like I lost the, I don't know. I don't even like the kind of dizzy kind of, you know, the starting of the alcohol. And plus, now that I know more about the body, it's the reaction of you poisoning yourself. So I'm like, that's not good, you know? So I guess I'm just really not too into it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because when I was in it and drinking, I would just either drink to get drunk or I wouldn't drink at all.
Yeah.
But then I would...
It's not like I like the taste of alcohol.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste for sure. It's not like it's just natural for most people. Some people, I guess, they say that's naturally they like it, but... And
I don't know the difference between brandy, scotch, or I don't know the different alcohols. I think they all taste like fucking gasoline to me.
Yeah. Yeah, whiskey is whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was that kind of like your pinnacle point in your 20s where did you get into bodybuilding at that point and then or
no,
or was
I
that
actually
later on?
I was fighting, and so my very first bodybuilding show I did here in Idaho, and it was the NGA, and I was fighting in Salt Lake, and I was just here at Gold's Gym, and one of the trainers said, "Hey man, there's a show in 2 weeks. You want to do it?" And I did it. I won my class, but I didn't win the overall. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't really get a bunch of attention from it or anything. But then I did it a couple more times in the NGA because I was natural. I didn't, you know. And so I ended up winning my pro card in the NGA. But then they accused me of using steroids, even though that I was getting UA'd and doing the polygraph, all that. So I was like, okay, yeah, screw it. I kind of lost, you know, interest in it. But then the NPC came to Idaho in 2014, and I competed in that. I won my my class, didn't win the overall, but I didn't care because it was way bigger and a lot more attention. And then it was kind of weird because then you kind of get known for it, and it's kind of like your identity, you know?
Yeah.
So then I kind of faded out from fighting and then into bodybuilding.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and bodybuilding. I mean, it's extremely hard, but it's not nearly as hard on your face.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to understand the whole bodybuilding thing. This thing sucks.
Yeah.
And the hardest part, I was just telling Ashley that this morning. I was like, you're going to hate me in like 4 months when I have to get my food cut and everything.
Yeah, wait till you start doing your carb, so like carb cycling.
Yeah, that's what I was telling her.
Yeah, you really look forward to those high carb days.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling her. She's like, you're going to have to get a new spot to live for a month, the month prior. And I was like, that's going to suck, yeah. So, I don't know how you want to transition into the lowest part of your life so far, but...
So, Danny Ward passed away in a motorcycle accident, and that... then I drank, like I drank from wake up to sleep for probably about 3 months. And then I got in trouble. And then I went to prison.
What happened how do you get into a car crash or a motorcycle crash?
So he just got done riding around Lucky Peak. And he was on his way back, and a girl was texting on her phone, and she veered over into his lane, and he thought, oh, he'll just go around the other side. Well, I think she looked up and then swerved back into her lane and hit him head on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, tore off his leg. And I was in Spokane. I think I was fighting, and I rented a plane to come back because I was devastated, but I didn't make it back in time. So the whole thing just really screwed me up mentally.
Because that was your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care about it much. I didn't care about living. I didn't care about dying. I didn't care about people's feelings. I didn't care, you know. I mean, I went to prison for aggravated assault, aggravated battery, and attempted strangulation. So it was like I was fighting whoever, whenever, half drunk. You know, even my friends didn't want to be around me.
What happened to catch those charges?
There was a guy he didn't really want to fight, and I'm like, all right, you guys, if you guys really want to fight that bad, I'll fight. So downtown Boise, I think Tom Graney's, is that the one that goes downstairs?
I don't. Oh. Was that Dirty Little Rod or China Blue or something?
No, that was across the street.
Okay, I'm
not
sure.
That was more of the hip hop. Anyways, it was downtown. I got in some fights and stuff, and it originally was disturbing the peace. So I thought, no big deal, because I used the name William Aid. Well, the judge's name was Judge Bell, and she said that because I was a professional fighter, that my charges were enhanced. So they enhanced my charges, and then I went to prison. And the whole time I thought it was kind of a joke, because I thought, yeah, you guys are just trying to scare me. And when you go to prison, first they make you register in county jail. And then when you go to prison, you go through this thing called RDU, and they give you points. Well, I had too many points, so I had to go over to But I thought I was going over there because they were really keeping me away from the prisoners, because they were going to come get me and say, hey, did you learn your lesson?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. I did 5 years.
Yeah, and they raised your points because of your profession, right?
Yeah, yep.
Because
the profession and the violent crimes. And then so after 6 months, they reclassed me. Then I was on the yard. I stayed on the yard the whole time, but then they gave me a date. But they gave me a date like a year, and it was a ways out. So they said, do 5, and we'll parole you for 5. So that lowered my points enough to where I could go over to the farm and then do a CWC. So then, I mean, it's not like no time is easy. It's even at a CWC, you want to go home, you want to do the things that you want to do. And I'll be honest, like, I think the easiest time was at Max, because it went by the fastest, because it's the exact same thing every single day that you look back and it's like, wow, it was like a flash. And
was
then
that your first time being arrested?
I've been arrested a lot, but I've only been to one jail, Ada County Jail. Okay. I've never been in trouble anywhere else. So I've been arrested a bunch, like as a juvenile, not having a light on my bike, minor in possession of alcohol, curfew, petty theft.
A lot of it was as a minor then?
Yeah.
Or?
All of it was
minor
as a minor.
This last one?
And then I think I got a petty theft as an adult. I mean, a lot of just like knick-knack, like, I mean, I don't want to say knick-knack because a crime's a crime, but nothing that would ever send you to prison.
Right.
So that was like my first, And
so when you get sentenced in court, like, what's going through your mind? At that point, you're thinking that they're just doing like a scare it straight.
So I thought, like, I can't believe that you guys are going to send me to prison, blah, blah, blah. I came in, and they set my bond at $250,000 when they enhanced them. So I was pretty much in jail from there and on. I never got out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just had lost your dad, and you're just at the bottom, and you're just going through it, man.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you go to Max for that 6 months then? I mean, like, you go in for the first time, the door closes, and you're just there. It's a solitary room then, just by yourself?
So I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I was so lost in life. One, telling people what other people told me to say, for fights, promoting fights and stuff, or acting like something I was. I just really didn't know who I was. So I read the Bible. I slept with the Bible. It was like, it's what comforted me.
Was that your first time reading the Bible?
Yeah. And it was like, as long as I was holding on to it, I felt safe. It just sounds really, really weird. I know.
No, yeah.
But it was like how people have, like, as kids, they have blankets and stuff like that, they can't go to sleep without them. That's kind of how I was with the Bible, and it just, I don't know. I can't really explain it. I don't want to say a light came on. It got to where I decided I got to find out who I am, because I don't even know who I am, and that's, I think, the hardest thing in the whole process was being honest with myself, because I could lie to everybody else, but I was lying to myself too. And I believed half the lies that I was telling everybody, so it was like, and then you almost start believing your own lies, because you just say them over and over and over, to where, but that was the way I was hiding from everybody, I guess, never ever letting anybody know who I really was, because it was like my defense, like, well, I'm not going to tell you the truth of who I am, or let you know how I really feel, or, so, but yeah.
What were the things that started sticking out to you when you started reading the Bible that, like, felt like they were really talking to you or something,
So I think the thing how I really felt about things, not how I was supposed to feel about things, because other people expected me to feel that, or like be angry over something when I was really hurt, so then I was scared, and then the fear motivated me to clench onto the Bible, because that was like my safety, and then I started reading. And then, so the story of David, I have always, just liked the story of David, how, and I still think that today, like, don't ever think that I'm responsible for any of my wealth or anything like that. I'm very fortunate that God loves me, and he could take it away at any time when I take advantage of it or think that it's because of me. Because when David, slept with Uriah's wife and got her pregnant, sent Uriah off to war and all that stuff, God was like, shoop, took it, Right. So I always think of that, don't ever get like, don't ever start.
Like, think of that, whatever you got is because of you.
Yeah. And I live very frugal. Like, I don't spend a lot of money. I think that I live well within my means, but that also gives me the opportunity. Like, I own the building that my businesses are in. I own 2 buildings. I own 3 businesses. I own, but I drive a 2006 Yukon. I mean, it's old, but it runs.
Yeah.
It's not really ugly, but it's not a brand new truck.
Right.
People give me a hard time, like, why don't you go buy a new truck? I'm like, but I almost did because I thought, peer pressure, like, yeah, I need to look good.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, but then I'm like, why? So I could spend $130,000 and then be excited for about 2-3 months, and then when the news off, regret the fact that I spent that much money.
Right.
So I try to give it 72 hours. Anytime I like have a thought or an idea of what to do, when it comes to stuff like that, like, okay, is it a want or a need?
Yeah.
But I do understand, like, Mary, like, there's some things that she wants, like her birthday, I got her a necklace and stuff, and I enjoy doing that. But for some reason, I don't really do it to myself. I guess maybe shoes. Like, buy shoes.
Right. Yeah, that David and Goliath story, though, that one really, when I started learning about that, because the way that they make it seem is that, like, oh, he just had a slingshot or something, but, like, that guy was deadly with his sling, and he was protecting his sheep and everything from the lions and, like, all, like, so he had been training, and for years, people just he didn't understand, why.
Yeah, they were like, no,
as like a little kid, he's out here just protecting against lions and stuff, but really God was preparing him for something later on in life that he had no clue what.
But he was a savage.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but at the time, he had no clue why he was out there, and, like, you think about it, like I don't know, 5 to 10-year-old boy just protecting himself and the flock against lions.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's building up because he's going to take out the giant and he's going to become king. But, like, you don't understand why God's putting you through some things sometimes.
Yeah.
So when you were in your cell at Max and going through all this, you just started rethinking about life. And
that's why I thought, and so this is really what I thought. Sacrifice one, save a million. So I thought, and I try to do a lot of service work. Like, I think I'm a good influence. I got some, kids that kind of look up to me, and I'm steering them the right way. Like, there's a kid, he got a second DUI, and he's not even 21 yet. And I got him hooked up with somebody that, goes to AA. I got him coming in the mornings to do cardio, so I know that not like I'm trying to police him, but kind of, give him things that he can't go out drinking that night because, if he doesn't show up, it's kind of like, hey, what's going on, So I try to, use everything that I went through to benefit other people. You know what I mean? Because to bullshit me is kind of tough as a kid because there's really not much that I didn't do. And there's not much that I didn't lie about. So when you lie to me, it's kind of like, yeah, well, I told that one too. So, let's get to the truth. And, and I think the fact that I don't judge, because I've been in some really bad spots in life, that I don't really care. Let's just fix it. I'm not going to judge you because, there's nothing that you've done that I haven't done. I guarantee you that, So, but I could also predict your future because of what you're doing, because I've either done it or I've seen people do it, or I've had a lot of friends that die, especially when, like, a lot of the wrestlers and stuff, they got hooked on pain pills. Well, a lot of them are dying on fentanyl, so it's not, it's not what you think it is, and it's short-lived. You might be having fun at the time, but you're going to pay for it in your future.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody this, hey man, you're young, your body could work right now, work your butt off, and then when you're 50, then sit on the yacht, drink the brandy, and smoke your cigar.
Right. Yeah, that's a thing I've been talking to my niece about too, is, like, work up your 20s. Don't just party away your 20s. Yeah. Like, nobody's ever going to regret.
The party's always going to be there.
Right.
I promise.
Yeah. No one's going to regret working through your 20s and then coasting a little bit. But if you just, man, I pissed away my 20s. Like, man, I guess I can't say I pissed away. I had kids and stuff, but, like, I was just comfort, I
it
wasn't
wasn't
really
well
working
thought.
towards anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just kind of working to live.
So if you had a millionaire come up to you when you were 20 and say, hey, man, if you work from 20 to 30, build your empire and you'll have pretty much easy sailing, would you be like, oh, man, okay, but you've seen how he lived his life. So wouldn't you be like, yeah, I want that life. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if it was coming from somebody that has gone through similarities or a hard life or anything like that. Like the thing that gets me is the thing that you think disqualifies you from helping others is usually that thing that makes you qualified, right?
Yeah. Like when you were asking me about the juveniles and stuff, I would love to. And I was just like, well, I can't do it because I got in trouble in 2006. Even though that was 20 years ago, I just in my head think, I'm tarnished or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Mary's really good friends with Lori Otter. And so I guess I could put in to get everything, why? Because I got half the Nampa police that work out at my gym.
Yeah.
I'm not even close to that same person anymore.
Well, half the people that go to the juvenile thing with me, they have felonies too. So and that's the thing. Like that's the thing those kids are gonna listen to you more than they're gonna listen to like a preacher that's never got a DUI or a misdemeanor or anything in their
because
life.
They're fake. As far as those kids are concerned, it's fake. Because I was there. All that like goody. Yeah, you're fake. You're just as screwed up as the rest of us. You just hide it better. That's what I truly thought. So being able to relate. And the other thing is the way that I look, because I'm a bodybuilder, it looks like, muscly, like, and I'm tattooed, but,
right.
So it's like the billboard of, but what comes out of my mouth is like, oh, wow, but I've been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I could, just be like, yeah, and I get it. You hear stuff and you think it's fake, or you think somebody's just bullshitting you, because as a kid, they've been bullshitted their whole lives. They've been lied to just as much as they lie to others. So they created that habit of say what you need to get what you want, And so they think that when somebody tells them something, they're just working some kind of angle for something. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So, and it's sad, but when you go through neglect and everything from your parents and people that's supposed to love you, you adopt those beliefs. Like you can't trust or believe anybody.
Yeah.
So how are you supposed to take somebody's advice that you don't even know when they're preaching to you and say, hey, do good, do this? It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Those childhood experiences really, really like carry into your adult life.
Very.
Like
very.
I had a stepmom and she would always pretend to be sick to get attention or to like block us from doing a plan or something.
And then so now when you see somebody sick, you're kind of like, are they faking?
It took me forever. Like when my wife would be sick here, I would just like subconsciously, I would think like she's faking it. And
isn't it? Yeah, it's weird. Like how it sets a belief in your mind, and your beliefs are your reality, and your reality is what causes you to act the way that you do.
Yeah.
So it really is like your environment influences who you are. And then if nobody corrects it, so I got extremely lucky. Like I don't want to say, well, yeah, I am going to say going to prison was by far the best thing that's ever happened to me. Because, as a matter of fact, I talked to Loretta just the other day, and I can't remember what we were talking about. And I said, oh, no, I learned that when I was in prison. And she goes, wow, that is so weird to think that you had ever even been in prison. Well, she's known me, on and off, since, she's my biological sister. So for her to hear that, or for her to say that, I'm like, wow, man, I've really, really changed. But I changed after I went to prison,
What was it like when you got out of Max and went to the medium then and had people around you and interaction?
A lot of people respected me only because some people knew that I was a professional fighter. And then the lifers knew my father. So it was kind of like I never had to fight if I didn't want to. I fought a couple times only because I wanted to. There was a guy named Boston. He was a big guy. He was kind of giving this guy a hard time, and I tuned him up. And it was funny because CO Thomas, and I'm not trying to get him in trouble, but he kind of witnessed it. But he was like, well, shouldn't have been fucking around with this guy, because he was a big guy, But yeah, so I didn't get in trouble for that one. And
so because of your dad, do you think that you had it maybe a little bit easier in there, or people respected you and didn't, like, because you said that nobody ever asked you to click up or anything because they had respect for your dad, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and so, I'll just say Popeye, he, started the, AK, he had a lot of respect for me, because he had seen me fight on TV. It was like nobody, I mean, I'm not going to say it was easy.
Yeah.
But I didn't have issues like a lot of the people out there. But also, I didn't get in the riffraff. I didn't do drugs. I didn't gamble. I didn't do any of the stuff that I worked out. I helped people with their nutrition. I worked in the kitchen. I was already on a positive kind of like path. So I think it attracted some of the people, and some of the people, that seen that just kind of like stayed away from me.
And you took that time, you said, too, to get like your degrees and
Yeah,
stuff, right?
Yep. So that's when I started school, is in there. Warden Richardson, Jay Richardson, he said, yeah, if you could afford it, you could do it. Christensen, yeah. So he let me, start school in there and stuff. Yeah, well, I don't think that he thought I could afford it or something, because then I was going down to education.
Because you paid for everything yourself, right?
Yeah, because I wasn't eligible for any kind of FAFSA or anything till after I got out.
Yeah, it's not like they offer that in
Well,
college,
you can't, because I think something about being an inmate, that whole like thing that you get free college or whatever, that's not true.
Yeah.
Because people think, oh yeah, being a felon, you get free college or free. That's not true. You get free. It's like if you want to become a welder, because this is what they believe. They believe
vocational classes
because they think that those are obtainable because you're damaged. So they're willing to pay for something that they think that you'll be successful at. Well, I wanted to originally be an ER nurse. I didn't know that I couldn't till I went to do clinicals, and because of the felonies, I couldn't do it. But so, they wouldn't help me with anything that they thought was not obtainable. And I went to that voc rehab, and that's the people that kept shutting me down. But I was like, I don't care. I'm doing it.
So you got the books inside, and then how did you have to take your test?
So I went to education, and they would have a proctor online, and I'd have to do it that way. Or a lady would be there to watch me.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
So you're in there, you're working out a bunch, you're studying, and people just have respect for you. I mean...
And there was a lot of people curious, because I'd be studying on my bunk and stuff, and because I'm studying like physiology, they'd be like, wow, what, like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know,
Yeah.
So I was just a little bit different, I guess. But I also, I was very rigid. Like, if you did something, I'd be like, nah, not over here. Fucking go over there.
Right. So did you start like a workout routine then for a bunch of people, and like nutrition plans and all that?
Yeah. Not so much nutrition.
I guess you can't
because the kitchen and stuff, you can't really do your nutrition. But like workouts, letting them know what reps do what, if you're wasting your time, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. I think that would have been, I think they should still have stuff like that. Like a regimented thing. There's people that obviously still work out and stuff, but like if there was somebody that could lead it and actually had.
Well, it's crazy because the endorphins that are released when you're working out, it's an addiction too. You start really enjoying how you feel. And I mean, there's a lot of drug addicts also that go to 3D fitness, it's because it's a private gym, and it's not like, the regular okie doke, overcrowded. It's kind of cool because you got law enforcement, and then you got knuckleheads, but everybody respects each other in there, and the knuckleheads, they're sober.
Yeah.
And so I think the law enforcement is like, well, at least he's in here working out rather than, breaking into a house or something. So I think it's all a lot of respect inside 3D fitness. I don't even really know how to explain the energy in there. It's different than any other gym I've ever been in or owned.
Yeah. It's a different culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's people that, you would think like, oh, I'm scared of talking to this guy. And then all of a sudden he had him a water bottle or something, or like a squirt bottle, and they're like, "Oh, thanks, man." And they start a conversation like, "Oh, man, this guy's a cool dude."
Yeah,
it's like it's pretty cool.
Like Cam, he was on here. He's law enforcement. Mm-hmm. Gets along with everybody. Really, I mean, it's just it's a cool. I don't know how to explain it, and I think it's good to bridge that gap. Because people that see people that have arrested them and they work out of the same gym, it's almost like, hey, you know what? Now we could talk, or, it doesn't seem like F the police, it's like, actually they're not bad.
Yeah.
And then I think the police look at the, guys and without saying, because I don't think they need to say it, but they look over and they kind of respect the fact, like, yeah, at least he's, in here consistently. He's not, doing drugs. He's trying to be better for his kids and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of a neutral respect in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's why everybody gets along so well.
And I think you can talk to a lot of law enforcement people, and when they say like they should have been in there too, like they just didn't get caught, like that's legitimate, right? So
yeah.
Once you can see someone, especially trying to better themselves, like if you're in a gym, you got to be trying to do something with your life. I think that in prison they need to have that as like everybody needs.
Well, I think in prison they need to quit being so fake. I think because I stay pretty much to myself. I think the COs and I'm not trying to cause any kind of riffraff, but I think they classify a lot of the criminals and just put them all in one category, and it's almost like abuse. Like doing little things like, oh, well, I feel like locking you guys all down, lockdown for no, just instead of talking, communicating. It's kind of abuse, or just because the CO doesn't like you, every time you're going down the breezeway, you get pulled over and, patted down every time, even knowing that you're not carrying it. It's just like, hey, come here, just weird stuff like that,
Yeah.
I really think and I'm not saying not all, like, Sergeant Bradner, stud. I mean, there's like you, Temez.
Yeah.
Studs. Like, seriously, they knew how to be officers, but I think there's a lot of officers out there that don't know how to be officers. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it took me a few years before I started to realize that, like, I was badge heavy, I think that happens to begin with. And then once you realize, like, these people have to live here, man, like.
Yeah, you get to go home every day.
Yeah, or that, like, I've done stuff myself that could have landed me here. I just didn't get caught. Like, once you really, like, that, but once it clicks in your head, you're like, all right, man, like, let's and
then you got to think too, how are you helping this person by being a prick to him?
Yeah.
Are you making their life better or worse? Like, why don't you be nice to them, and then they'll feel the energy that you're putting off, and it'll give them hope for the next, officer.
Yeah, you don't have to let them walk all over, but yeah, definitely have respect for the person as a person, right? Yeah, I mean, that's just something that they tell you too, is like, it's not your responsibility to punish the person when they come in here. They've already been sentenced. It's not your responsibility,
Yeah.
It just takes some people a little bit longer to understand that. So when you were at the yard, how long were you there for?
I think I was on the yard for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that when you got all your degrees in that time?
Yep.
Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I graduated when I got out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I started when I was in there, but I got, I think, 18 certifications because I really wasn't. Oh, and I played on a baseball team, and I won almost every single thing in the gym.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I won the power meet, pound for pound. I won the weighted relays, almost every single thing I won. And so that was kind of flattering.
Did they still have the boxing back then?
No, they just barely took the boxing out.
I remember
the boxing ring was still in there, but there was no more fights. There was only, so when I came over, I think they just had their last fight.
I was gonna say that'd probably take over, or they'd take it out because of you.
Well, they took it out, I guess, and this is what's crazy, is they took it out saying that it promoted violence. Well, it kind of slowed violence down, because if like SVC had a problem with, so it was like, okay, you guys handle it. And the shot callers would, to where it wasn't like a big war or anything. You just handled your business, and then that was it.
Right.
And I don't think the officers or anything kind of understood the politics of what that ring really represented. I mean, there was legit boxing matches, but it really took care of a lot of things that could have, exploded into, other things.
And there's no weapons going into it. I think it's just straight hands and gloves.
Yep. So. It's okay. You think you're tough? We'll see how tough you really are. Because now, and you got to be smart, because if you go as a brawler, you got one round, then you're getting beat up the rest of the time, because you ain't got no more fuel. You're done. You're winded.
No endurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was your time there then?
It really wasn't bad. I worked a lot. I worked out. So I pretty much, I'm kind of, it's weird because I grew up not like this, but I'm very, and I think prison did this. I'm very like structured. Like, I folded my socks all the same. They were neat in my box. My bed was always made. I got up at 3. Well, I went to work at 3 a.m, worked in the bakery, got out, took a nap, went to the gym. I mean, I just very the same. And I like the fact that I got up because nobody was awake. So I worked in the morning doing in the bakery, and then that was half my time. So I didn't have to deal with anybody.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'd go take a nap and go to the gym, and then I'd be in bed by 6:30, you know?
Yeah.
So,
do you ever have anybody come visit you?
A couple people, Guy Hallett, Annie, Yvonne, and I think that's it.
Was it hard to have people visit you?
Oh, no. Not really.
No.
Yeah. Because it didn't really, I mean, I wasn't really close to anybody. So it wasn't like when they left, I was missing them.
Yeah.
You know?
And you said you were, as a kid, you had gone in there for visitation too, right? So you kind of.
Yeah. So, and that was the old visiting where the gym is now. So I was a very trusted inmate or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
So I got to go in the front part where they do all the, where they listen to all the phone calls and do all the like investigating part because I delivered food there. I went up in the tower, you know, delivered food there. The gym where the visiting used to be, I went in there. So I've been pretty much everywhere in the prison as an inmate.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing that was interesting to me from going to ISCC to ISCI was when they would have like inmates come and clean their pod control and stuff, and I was like, this would not fly over at ISCC.
Yeah,
but I guess it's totally different, like how they run it, because it's more like a key operated system rather than at ISCC. It's like buttons.
Yeah.
So obviously it makes sense, but. So and then eventually you got to go over to the work center, then, right?
Yep.
ISCI, the farm.
Yeah, and Lieutenant Barlow, Noelle, stud. That chick is. I don't know what she does now or if she's even out there. Oh, yeah, she is actually out there because they invited me back out there because they started a fitness program at the farm, which I bought a bunch of equipment for them. And then I got so busy that it just sat and sat and sat. So this year, when they start the fitness program again, I'm going to try to get a bunch of stuff out there for those guys. But she paid me $1.50. I was on fire crew. And then even when I wasn't on fire crew, I was working with Temez, still made $1.50 or $1. I can't remember which one it was, but and that's a lot.
Fire crew is like the best pot that you can have as an inmate, right?
Yeah.
You're getting actual real food. You're leaving the facility for days, weeks at a time.
I think 14 days, and then we come back for, I think, 5, and then gone for 14. So you're not really in prison, but it's hard work. So
what was that like?
It was an endurance, and this is what else was cool. I can't remember the CO's name, but he was a fitness enthusiast. So we would hike. So during lunch, we'd hike from one, whatever the thing that pulls the yarder or that pulls the logs out of the forest.
Okay.
Anyway, so, and it was actually fun, enjoyable, you know? And I worked my butt off. Like one time I came up and Lieutenant Barlow and Jay Christensen was there. And they go, "What, is there a water hole down there?" Because I was soaking wet and sweat. And I go, "No, it's just me, you know, hooking up the chokers, you know?" Yeah, they're like, "Oh, wow." But I loved it, you know? Yeah, I would be down there except for I'm scared of animals. And so every once in a while, a log, you know, I'd hook a log up and it'd pull. And like a raccoon or something, I'd be like, "Ah, crap," you know?
Yeah.
But besides that, it was really good.
I've heard some stories about people that they'll get in trouble out there because then they'll start hanging out with like some of the other firefighters or something. They'll start smoking or
have sex. So
yeah,
when we get called to a fire, there's females there too.
Right.
And so that's when, you know, and this is, why would you jeopardize what you got for a girl that you don't even ever know or never see again? Or I don't know. I just couldn't figure that out.
Just for the thrill of maybe not getting caught.
That is done. But then you're back over in the yard.
Yeah.
Because you don't just lose your job. You go back to the yard and now you got to finish out your time. And if you got a date or something, or when you go to board, they say, "Hey, yeah, he got rolled from the farm for having sex with," I mean, that's a pretty serious thing. Right. And that could cost you, you know, your date.
Yeah. And to be on any of those crews, you have to be within 2 years of getting out.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're a lifer.
Yeah.
Or anything. You got some stuff on the line.
Yeah. So I always stayed away. But it's funny because some of the girls would know, and when you go get your food, because they'd cater your food, they would kind of flirt with you. But I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've heard, like some of the CEOs, they would have like trail cameras up just to see if anybody goes out to go smoking or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I heard smoking was like the biggest one, or chew that they would
The
get.
drops. So the fire crew, they'd have drops, and it wasn't anything illegal like weed or anything, but it was tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
So then they'd bring the tobacco to the farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everybody, well, I didn't chew, but a lot of people on the farm chews.
Right. So how long did you do the fire crew for?
I did the fire crew 1.5 seasons. So the second season, me and a guy didn't get along, and he was like one of the main fire crew people. So I went and I worked with Temez instead. But I still got to keep my pay.
Yeah.
Because Barlow was like, no, keep my, and I was like, wow, because everybody else was making like 30 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Was it pretty unheard of for you to get like a job like that right away going on there? So you had a hookup with the, like
Barlow's the one that hooked me up. Like,
yeah, she got you hooked up.
Yeah,
That's cool.
she was so awesome. Her and Temez, and I'm an inmate, remember, like I'm, still in prison. There was an accident somebody dug something up, and we got a bunch of copper on the freeway. And I asked Temez, I said, hey man, can I turn this copper in and get the money? He's all, what are you going to do with the money? I said, well, and I wasn't a shot caller or anything, but nobody on my crew would bring chew in or anything without asking me. And I would, if it was, like personal, I'd be like, okay. But if they were trying to, hustle or anything, I didn't ever want to disrespect Temez. So, for them always, being good, like we had probably the best crew because nobody ever wanted to jeopardize it, because Temez made time easy because we followed the rules. So he let me take it to Boise Recycling. I got the money, and I went to Little Caesars. I got some pizzas, and then I went across the street to Winco, and I got some Mountain Dews and stuff. But a nurse seen me, that worked out of the prison, and told Lieutenant Barlow. And Lieutenant Barlow said, hey, you can't do that. But I mean, it was because I was a good role model. They made it, I'm not going to say easy for me or anything, but it was like they respected me, I respected them, because I would never like abuse what they're doing, because it's nice to feel human and be able to go order pizzas, and then take them down and give them to all the guys, so.
Yeah, that's cool. And
I don't know if she could get in trouble for that, so I don't, maybe I shouldn't have said, but I mean, it was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's cool too that you had that kind of mutual respect with the people that were working with you on your team.
Well,
that they wouldn't.
I think I got along better with some of the guard. Well, I guess I got along with smart people that use their head, criminal or, COs. It was just like, hey, like the shot callers, we got along because they are kind of smart. Like they run things, and they run it in a system to where, obviously they're smart, because you got to go to them if something happens on the yard, to get permission. And if the juice isn't worth the squeeze, well, then it's not happening. I don't care how big of a problem you got with that. It's going to cause too many ripples in the water, and you're not doing it, know? So I got along with smarter people, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what was it like when you got out then? Because you only had, another 6 months after that when you were working.
Yeah, so when I got out, I first went to a halfway house because of violent crimes. I couldn't find anybody to rent to me. And so this is where God comes in. I mean, God was there the whole time, but I mean, even as a kid. So I truly believe God's walked with me through this whole thing. So I went to a halfway house. Nobody would rent to me. So there's a lady, I can't remember her name, but the place is called Around the Town. It's in Boise. And she looked at my criminal record and everything. She said, you know what? I got a feeling about you. I'm going to give you a chance. So she rented me a place. And then things just got better as a fitness. I worked over at Axiom for a couple of years. And I had some money. So I opened up Fit for Life. Sold that one. I opened up a strength training center. I sold that one to Courtney, and then I opened up Fit City because I kept snowballing into bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger gyms, because I, kept having, bigger ideas and everything. Opened up Fit City, sold that to Casey Bonner, and then I was kind of just relaxing, kind of figuring out what I was going to do with life. And then I married Mary, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And she's all, hey, listen, you can't just sit around, live So I went over to Atlas Pallet, $8 an hour for 9 months. Because I wasn't doing it for the money. I was just doing it because I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. But it wasn't fair that she had to go to work every day, and I was just kind of doing whatever I wanted.
Because you had the money from the sales of the house.
So I did that for 9 months, and then I was actually working out. So me and Mary love working out. That was something that we had in common, and we'd work out at the Idaho Athletic Club that was on Eagle Road because nobody ever went there.
Met Mary?
So I met Mary. I owned Fit City, and I used to train her trainer, Carly Young, do the HIIT training for the final stages of her prep. And then Carly Young introduced Mary. And so Mary was dating an officer named, Meridian, Randy? Russ? I can't remember. But he was looking for somebody to really push him to the next level. So Mary had heard about me, and so she sent him. And so he signed, and I told her, because I hadn't met her yet. I just knew her on Facebook. And I said, hey, if he signs, I'll give you 2 free sessions for referring him. So he signed for me to train him. So she came in, and I trained her, and then she paid for a couple, and I think a total of maybe 5 sessions, and then we were down at the courthouse getting married.
And that was the dude that she was dating?
Ex-boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
No. Sorry. Her ex-boyfriend. Rudy. His name's Rudy.
Okay.
Yeah, really, really nice guy. Really nice guy.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Ex-boyfriend. Okay.
Ex-boyfriend.
That makes a difference.
I mean, I guess, I don't even know if they're boyfriend and girlfriend. I just know that they, were intimate and kind of hung out and, stuff like that. So then I was training her, and then I sold Fit City because I wasn't single anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was, there was a lot of girls there.
What's up with the drama life inside of gyms? There's a lot of.
Oh my gosh,
like there's a lot of drama in gyms.
It's like high school.
Yeah,
it is. So Fit City was kind of rough because you had these guys over here that didn't like these guys. You had this girl that was sleeping with this guy. You had this guy. It was like, oh boy, and I was guilty of being part of it too because I was single.
Yeah.
And I would hang out with the girl for a little while, and then a new girl would, so it was like, oh, this is not good. So I thought the best thing was sell the business, because now that I'm married, I couldn't go there, and interact with these girls that I'd been intimate with. So I sold Fit City, ended up working at Atlas Pallet for a little while. And then I met Nate Tuttle that owned Gym State. And I was working out there because it was a hideout. There really wasn't a lot of weights or anything in there, but I got to work out without, a lot of people talking to me and stuff like that. Well, he got his wife, his wife got pregnant, and they wanted to move back up to northern Idaho. And he's all, you want to buy the place? And I'm all, no, not really. But then I was thinking about it because he only wanted $68,000 for it. And there really was no weights or anything, but it had the turf down. It had the key fob system. Everything was kind of already set up, all the hard stuff. So really it was like $60,000 or $68,000. And I started putting equipment in there, and it was already, pretty set up. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And this is all God. So $68,000. Now I have another business. And then COVID happened, went around, bought a bunch of equipment from gyms that were closing down. And then, ordered some, especially like there's a lot of pieces in there that you won't see at other gyms. And then, the owner, Harold Stone, was like, man, you guys are doing so good. I haven't had anybody in here do this good.
The owner of the building.
Yeah. The one that owned both buildings.
Okay.
So, he's all, hey, if you're ever interested in buying the building, let me know. And I'm like, I go, well, how much do you want for it? And he's all, 1.4. And I'm like, okay. So then I got it appraised, and it was appraised at 1.8. So I go, okay, so, what do we need to do, to move forward on this? And this is after about a year of kind of thinking about it and like, okay, we're going to stay here. He's all, give me 200,000 down. And then I'll carry the note, and we'll go over to Pioneer Title and sign it over. And I said, okay. So I gave him 200,000 down. Now I own and that's all God, because how many owners will carry the note? Like, I didn't have to do no kind of credit check, no nothing. I bought the business for $68,000 from Nate Tuttle. COVID happened. I got a bunch of equipment, that was affordable. Harold Stone, sold me the building with 200,000 down. And I got both buildings, so it was 100,000 each one. And then now I got the bunker. It's just like, I am extremely blessed, because when I was a kid, there's no way I thought millionaires were like these gods and everything, to where I'm like, not, okay. So I say I don't have to work. I don't have to work financially, but I have to work because that's why I work in the mornings. That's why you see me in the mornings, because I have to have a reason to get out of bed, or else I kind of start getting a little bit depressed and stuff. So it's nice to be able to know, like, if I want to go on vacation, like I'm going to take Mary to Italy for a couple weeks. It's just nice to know that I could afford to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Com- because I grew up living in a camper shell in the middle of a freaking field, getting McDonald's out of the dumpster, getting Frito-Lay and Clover Club, and then whatever else. Like, I remember the fruit stands. I would steal apples and stuff, so I could have some fruit in front of Fred Meyer's and IGA and stuff like that. So all of that, to where I'm at now, it's a lot of people say you need to write a book, because there's a lot more than we're even covering, on this podcast. But it's like, I wouldn't believe it if somebody told me. I'd be like, well, okay,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
What did you think your life was going to look like when you were a kid?
I didn't. I thought I was going to be dead. I didn't. I never. I think when you live like that, you never really look too much in the future, because you don't have any goals. So if you don't have goals, what are you looking in the future for?
Yeah.
You're kind of like living for today and just trying to make it through today. Of being able to eat, having fun, and half the time you're doing, like drinking or doing things that aren't, just to feel some kind of excitement, because your life is very unhappy.
Yeah. 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 That's an amazing story, man. And I think it gives a lot of people hope, because I know there's people that get out of prison, or they're just going through stuff in life, and they're like, why am I going through this? Or there's a
reason. And I don't want to like sit here and try to preach, or, because I know that that's a little like they hear it enough from people that their motives are different, So like, I'm just saying, whatever it is, God, or whatever you think it is, or whatever they think it is, there is something out there that is guiding us, and just believe in that. And man, things will get a lot better.
Yeah.
And I believe in the Bible, because the Bible is positive. Almost every story in the Bible that I've read, except for the Old Testament, I struggle with the Old Testament, but I could kind of relate or take something and apply it to my life. Like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Even though that a lot of them are in, what is it? Oh my gosh.
Like the parables?
Parables, yeah. To where it can kind of go either way, but either way, I make it to where it relates and it makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about the Bible, is it's a living word. So, you could reread something a few different times and get something different out of it every time that would be different for what you're going through right then.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was never a believer in God or Jesus or anything like that. And then, I shouldn't say never, I just lost faith around like 10 years old until I hit 30.
I never knew who he was. Nobody ever talked to him or talked about him when I was growing up. Yeah. Never. Like, it was all a big biker community, and like it was almost like it was a joke,
Yeah. But because you got to see all the darkness, now it's easier for you to see the light, because you understand it differently than somebody that's only had the light going on in their life. And I think that's such an advantage. And when you can change that up, that narrative of like, poor me, or why me, to like, okay, why was it me,
And that's how I was when I first went in. I was like, I thought I was a victim, but then that quickly changed when I decided, okay, well, who am I? What? And then I started thinking, like, okay, so there's always two sides to a story. So what's my side in it? What did I do to get me where I am? Because I honestly thought it was everybody else, like, oh, this person did this and that's why. And so once I started taking responsibility for what I did in life, things really started changing for me, because now I have no problem saying, like, even if me and Mary argue, it's never one-sided. It's like, okay, let me look at my part in this argument. Okay, I identify mine. Do you identify yours? Okay. And usually we solve it like, okay, that's kind of silly, you know?
Yeah, ownership is so important. When you can just, because if you blame someone else, you're giving them all the power. Once you can turn that finger around and be like, all right, this is my thing, but I have the power to change this, then that's so much more powerful, and you can actually take control of your life rather than being like, oh, poor me, my parents did this to me. Oh, this bad. And he's like, okay, well, what's that going to do? Yeah, sure, your parents did do this to you. That's in the past. You have to control your future now. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, what? It's not going to do anything. And a lot of people play that victim game.
And like I said, there's a lot more to my childhood, but it's like, I mean, maybe someday I will put it in a book because it might help somebody. But like I was going to therapy, you know, and they said, okay, let's do a victim timeline. I quit going to therapy. I was like, there's so much stuff, and I didn't understand why I would have to go back and do a victim timeline and relive a lot of it and bring it all up to where it was like, and maybe there is a purpose for it, but I didn't feel like I really needed to do that, you know. And maybe, you know, someday, because, and this is how I figured. I'm 50 years old. I got maybe 25 years left. I've been living with, you know, these secrets, or not secrets, but things that I don't really want to deal with for 50 years. What would be the point of bringing them to light now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy for me, like, just some of the things that you forget about over the years, you know? And then all of a sudden something
unless
will come
it's
up,
smell or something. Yeah, it's weird. Smells are the thing for me. Yeah. Like I'll smell something and then I'll be like, why do I? And you get the weird feeling, like almost a panic feeling. And then you remember like being left at somebody's house and their house smelling like that. And I would get left at people's houses for like months. And I would be like, oh my gosh, I remember that smell.
Just people you didn't even know, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. I remember you telling me one time you had to move like a big old bag of cocaine or something like that just to get your sister's shoes.
My shoes.
Oh, was it your
I had
shoes?
to get my sister to help me.
Oh, okay.
Because it was too heavy. Yeah. And I went to Lowell Elementary and I was only in third grade. So I wasn't that strong.
Yeah. That's just some of the stuff that's like you just figured was normal. Moving
Well, I didn't know what it was. So seriously, as a kid, I thought it was like powdered sugar or something.
Yeah.
I mean, in third grade, who knows what cocaine is?
Yeah.
You know, and they're bricks. So I didn't know what it was. I just knew that it was too damn heavy and my shoes were behind it.
Dang. Yeah, that's the stuff that you just think, oh, it's just normal. What do you guys do this morning? I just moved some bricks of sugar.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, switching things into like the health and fitness side of it, what's been like some of the best stories that you've had? I remember you were telling me about the one lady that you got her to be able to actually sleep in her bed, which is an amazing story.
Yeah, I think that's the best. That's the one that I remember every day that keeps me doing what I'm doing. I got a client right now, type 1, type 2 diabetic, and we talk a lot. Like we talk, sometimes I feel bad because I feel like he's not getting as good as a workout as I could because we're talking. But he's a big believer. He loves God, loves God. And he kind of helps me with my belief, you know, but I try to help him with his belief in himself, you know, because he hates going to the gym because he's all, is there anything that you hate doing? I go, yeah, I hate putting my laundry away. I hate it. I'll wait. I'll put it off. And he's like, well, that's what it's like for me at the gym. And I try to tell him, so he's type 1, type 2 diabetic. So what happens is his blood sugar will drop because his pancreas isn't releasing insulin. And then when he injects the insulin, his receptors aren't accepting the insulin because they're shut off because of the fatty in front of it. So once they do open up, all the insulin drops his blood sugar again. So now he's fighting to get his blood sugar back level. So it's just a super teeter-totter. But the type 2 diabetes is correctable once we get his weight into controllable to where he'll be type 1 and it'll be way easier to manage, you know, his insulin and everything. But he's gotten way, way better. So this is when he'd first come, I'd be like, hey, how you doing? He's all, oh, I'm here. Now we actually have fun because we actually enjoy each other's company. So but he's sick right now, but we're trying to really, really push to get him 2 days on his own, 2 days with me, 2 days on his own, 2 days with me. I seriously, in my heart, believe if we could be consistent for 6 months with that, he's going to completely flip. And I told him, I said, listen, it's hard to get somewhere, but it's easy to stay. Like once we get you there, it's kind of like climbing a hill, you know, but once you get to the hill, you're not going to start going back down because you don't want to climb back up. Or if you do start going down a little bit, you're like, oh, nope. And you get back up. You're not going to go all the way to the bottom because you don't want to have to climb that hill all the way back up. So I told him, you know, once we get there, the hardest part is to get there, you know, and he's doing really good. So that's my most recent, that's what's really driving me is, you know, and I don't want to say his name, but he is an incredible guy.
Yeah.
And he's changed my life a lot. Like like, you know, I'll ask, he's been married a lot longer than me. He's been married one time, and I think he's the same age as me, but he got married in his 20s. So I'll kind of ask him, you know, a little bit of advice and stuff, you know, because you could always use more knowledge, you know, and I think he's pretty smart, you know, and the way that he says it, he doesn't say, well, this is what you need to do. He'll be like, well, when things like that happen, usually I try to, you know, so it's like, oh yeah, you know what? I'll try that, you know, so that's my next project, and I'm going to get it done. We'll get it done. Me and him will get it done. And that'll be like, yes.
When you get a new client wanting to lose weight, what's one of the biggest misconceptions that they have about weight loss?
I think that they think it's going to be harder than it is. So weight loss. So there's a couple things. Sometimes there's a hormone imbalance, but we also have a doctor, Rebecca, that we go and we'll do some blood work because if things aren't going in the direction, you know, with because you know, a caloric deficit, it takes 3,500 calories to go 1 pound of fat, and we don't do a huge dump. You know, a matter of fact, a lot of the overweight people eat under what their total daily energy expenditure should be. You know, it's just the fact that they're eating the wrong foods, you know, and they don't have, their system isn't running right. You know, so if all 7 systems are running correctly, your body's going to, you know, utilize that stored energy and stuff. But obviously through time, something's gotten off from like, you know, either hormonal sitting but you could also adjust your hormones with exercise. You know, you could elevate your testosterone, you could lower your, you know, there's, so exercise actually does keep you young. And so think of this. So this is kind of a hypothetical. If you had a race car and it was sitting in the garage, you know, for say 15 years, would you expect it to come out and be able to race the track? You'd have to change the oil, flush the radiator, do all that. So really that's all we're doing. If you've been sitting in the garage for 15 years, you've gained all this energy. So let's start doing a tune-up. Let's work on your cardiovascular, your nervous system, you know, work on the little things before we even look at the fat.
Yeah.
You know, once we get things to where the joints, you know, are feeling a little bit better because, you know, so the joints are a little bit more complicated because there's not a lot of blood flow to the joints, you know, so we got to try to kind of increase blood flow, like with a bike or something, because people that are 300-400 pounds walking on the treadmill for 2 minutes, man, their knees and their feet are, you know, having a tough time. So we slowly try to, you know, focus on that for the phase 1. And then we go into phase 2 and then we start utilizing more of the body. So what we're doing is we're trying to stimulate the protein synthesis inside the muscle to make the muscle be alive again, you know, and increase blood flow. And then once we get to where we're doing good and we can sweat and, you know, kind of get through, you know, a workout without dying, then we go into phase 3. Then we're into like weight loss. So it takes a little bit of time to get to the actual weight loss phase. But then once we're there, you're feeling better because your hormones are more in balance. Your body's releasing dopamine, serotonin because, you know, the endorphins, you know, it's kind of like a runner's high, you know, so it gets a little bit more enjoyable. I'm not going to say everybody likes working out.
Yeah.
Because I thought everybody did because I did, but there's a lot of people that really don't like it. But it gets better, you know, as you go through the phases, you know.
I think a lot of people rely on motivation too.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll go when I'm motivated. I'm like, dude,
What comes first, action or motivation?
Yeah, exactly.
Action.
Well, I'd be like, I do this for a living
now.
Get
to the gym. Once you're at the gym.
There's 3 out of 5 days a week that I'm not motivated to go, but I know I have to go. And this is what I do for a living now. So like, if you're relying on motivation only, good luck.
Yeah.
But I think also, too, is that if you don't have the right nutrition, you can do all this workout stuff you want. But if your nutrition is crap, then...
So in phase 3, that's when we start focusing on the nutrition. Because here's the thing is like, you know, nutrition is extremely confusing because of politics. Because nutrition's a moneymaker. You take a little bit of truth and you put a bunch of, you know, crazy stuff with it and you sell a book. Now you made a bunch of money, right?
Yeah.
So people don't, unless you study the food and the properties of a protein. What is a protein? A protein is just a base word. It's what's underneath the word protein, which really matters, is amino acids. So, and amino acids convert back into proteins. You have protein in your skin, your eyes, your hair. So what protein is for, so if I was a dietitian and I worked in the hospital and you came to me with a rash, I would prescribe you a nutrition plan that is going to have the aminos that support your skin. You know, like so bodybuilder, we're going to find proteins that are high in leucine because that actually supports the muscle cell. So it's actually just knowing the properties of your food, or like a carbohydrate. Like everybody thinks carb or fats. People don't understand that fat helps you lose weight.
Yeah, how's that work? Explain that.
Okay, so I'm going to try to explain it as easy as possible. So energy is measured in heat, right? So 9 calories for fat and 4 calories for a carbohydrate and 4 calories for a protein, right? So 9 is greater than 4, right? So obviously 9 burns hotter than 4. So now you got different types of fat. You got your omega-3, omega-6, omega-9s, right? So those are already liquefied. So now you got trans fat and saturated fat that are solid. Like think of lard. If I sat lard on a frying pan and I didn't turn that frying pan on, it's going to sit as lard, right? So say that frying pan, the burner is only on 4. It's not going to break it down. Well, now I take a 9 and I add to it. Now it's turning that burner from 4 to 9. So now 9 is going to start heating it up and make it to where it's a liquid to secrete it. But the reason that you could utilize the 9 units of energy or 9 calories is because it's already in a liquid, because your body breaks it down and utilizes it. It doesn't utilize trans fat and it doesn't utilize lard because it's already a solid. So you have to actually heat it up to break it down and secrete out of your body. So have you ever heard of like, how do I lower my LDL? By eating healthy fats. So LDL is the bad cholesterol in your body. So you start eating good cholesterol, like coconut oil, stuff like that. It's actually going to help lower your LDL and raise your HDL, and the same thing with fats. Like if you're fat and you're eating avocados, fish oil, flaxseed, stuff that's going to, it's going to stoke the fire. So your metabolism is actually getting hotter, which is going to help turn that burner on to break down all that bad fat.
So the healthy fats, though.
The healthy fats, yeah. And that's the difference in fats. And a lot of people don't understand how to read nutritional labels. The FDA said, hey, you got to put all these labels on, food, but nobody knows how to read them. Right. Well, I didn't know that because I know how to read them, so I just assumed people knew how to read them. So that's another thing that I want to do, maybe on the podcast sometime, is, just break down simple things like, okay, this is how you read a nutritional label. Like, okay, say something has... Okay, we'll use a carb balanced tortilla, for example. It's got, I think, 30 carbs or something like that, but it's got 17 grams of fiber. So that 17, you minus the 17 from the 30, and it leaves you 13 grams of carbs, right? So you really only have 13 grams of net carbs because fiber connects to the molecule like a magnet and makes it more complex so it doesn't convert it into sugar. A net carb is a carb that converts into glucose immediately. A complex carb is one that breaks down slowly because it's harder to break down the molecule. And those are the carbs that you kind of want because they introduce your body at a slower pace to where your body uses them as they come in. A simple carb you'd use before an activity like a workout and maybe a little bit after workout, and sometimes in the morning after fasting 8 hours through the night.
Like the ones that are high in the glycemic index,
yes.
right? Like white rice, white bread.
Yeah, and the glycemic index is a perfect example. If you know how to read a glycemic index, so you want lower, so like diabetics, that's what the glycemic index was actually designed for. So you want things that convert slower and don't elevate your glucose, to where you get high blood pressure or high blood sugar. So if your blood sugar is high, then obviously you got a lot of sugar in your blood, which is a carbohydrate, which converts into glycogen. But the only thing that uses glycogen is your muscles and your brain. So if those are full, well, then where's that extra energy going to go? It's going to go in the storage units, which are your fat cells.
Yeah.
So if that cup is getting empty during your workout, then go ahead and do a net carb, fill it back up. But throughout the day, for the cellular activity, and we all have cellular activity, so you want things to introduce slowly so it's burning as it's coming in.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. I mean, it makes sense to me, at least, now that I have been into this a little while.
Yeah,
but.
And I know it's incredibly confusing.
Yeah. One thing that was interesting to me was, just like when you look at a nutrition label, especially the things that are marketed as like protein this or what, like protein cereal or protein bars.
They put a little bit of protein in it and they prey on the ignorance.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying ignorant is bad because we're all ignorant,
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to read it and you think, 9 grams of protein, this is good. 17 grams of sugar.
Or 10 grams of fat.
Or 10 grams of fat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they market it as a high protein like Kellogg.
Yeah, like cheese is not a good fat. So you have to add heat to it.
Yes.
So that's the thing too, is like a lot of these things, I just did a reel on, I don't know if I released it yet or not, but it was talking about like when you're ordering like pre-made meals, it was like
I learned all this in prison.
Yeah. when you order things that, or when you buy like pre-made meals that are like cheesy or creamy or baked, or not baked, but fried or battered, like all of these things, or if you get fries and they're crispy or they're seasoned, like all these things they have to add oil to get them to stick to, or they're fried in. But those aren't the kind of fats that we want.
No.
Because if they're
so if they get cold and they turn white, and if you got to heat them up for them to be shiny, well, that oil, when it's cold, it's sitting in your body. You have to heat it up for it to actually, and don't eat anything in a box. I don't. That's just my rule. Because a box, anything that'll last over a month, there's a bunch of preservatives. And
like not in the freezer.
Yeah. If you freeze it, good. If it could just sit on the shelf, not good.
Well, it makes me wonder, like, especially with bread, right? If you can have a loaf of bread that won't get moldy for a week or two.
Not good bread.
It's got to be,
Yep. So, like, what's her name? She used to make me my bread. And really, I would have to eat it within 3 days or else it would get mold. But she only used 4 ingredients. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's like if you get any kind of bagels or bread or anything from Costco, they'll go bad in like 3 days versus if you get like the Franz ones, or I still eat Franz too, but those ones will last you a lot longer because those ones are like fresh, and I think it's too because they put them in as they're warm, so then you got like that moisture inside of it. But
yeah, well, I use the protein bagels I have at the gym, and I have to keep them in the fridge because I had them on top of the microwave, and I thought it was the microwave. I'm all, whoa, those molded quick. But no, those ones, they don't have a bunch of preservatives.
Yeah, one thing that I've been telling my clients too recently is that they need to switch out, like they'll do like chicken and rice. I'm like, just do chicken and potatoes, because potatoes you can get a lot more volume and that'll keep you full longer.
Yep.
Bodybuilders just do rice because you can get so many more carbs in a smaller portion, and they have to eat so many more in the day. It's more of a convenience thing.
12 cups of rice a day.
Yeah, it's more of a convenience thing for the rice. It's not because it's good for losing weight. It's like it's smaller.
Well, and the fact that we don't have to chew it. You could almost get it in your mouth, because you got to figure 12 cups of rice plus each meal has. So I dropped my proteins from 9 grams to 6 grams because I was having such a hard time, getting it all in there. And right now,
9 to 6 like for
ounces
per
meal, and I do 6 meals a day.
Okay.
So right now the carbs are more important to my body than the proteins because I'm bulking, so I'm trying to get bigger. So all your muscles is glycogen and water, right? So the recovery on the damage is less, so I could use less protein and more carbs, if that makes sense.
Well, they also say too not to really pay attention too much to your body weight when you're on like a weight loss, because if you have more carbs on one day than you do because the following time or the previous time that you weighed in, if you didn't have as many carbs.
Think of a raisin. So a raisin versus a grape. So if you're 3 days carb depleted, you're going to be lighter, but your muscles are going to be like a raisin. But then you do a high carb day. So your diet, you'll see this once I put you on a carb cycle. Your diet, so 3 days, you're going to be lighter on the scale because your muscles are going to be like a raisin. But then your high carb day, your muscles are going to go back like a grape, even though you gain a little bit of weight, or sometimes you actually lose weight, but it fluctuates because plus the water. So a carbohydrate, so hydrate, so muscles, water, and glycogen, right? So you'll weigh more, but you're actually losing fat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I tell people. Like, don't really pay attention to the scale. Like,
honestly, for people, I would say pay attention in the mirror.
Yeah, or how your clothes feel.
Yep, how your clothes feel.
Exactly, because if you lose a pound of muscle versus a pound of fat, or if you lose a pound of muscle or if you lose a pound of fat but you gain a pound of muscle, it's not going to change at all.
At all. But your clothes are going to feel different because a pound of muscle is about the size of, I'm just saying, about this big. A pound of fat is about the size of my fist. So the circumference is going to be completely different because muscle's way more dense than fat.
Yeah. Keep going. I'm going to I actually have this model. I haven't used it yet, but this is the perfect time.
Okay, perfect.
Fat and the muscle model.
Oh, you got a muscle and a fat?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we'll explain it right now.
Yeah, we'll cut this into a reel. I've never taken them out yet, but yeah, here's the muscle. And then here's the fat. Cool, I've been wanting to use these.
Cool. Okay, so just, this is a muscle and this is fat. So a muscle is more dense. Like I can't squeeze this. I mean, it's a lot harder. So, and then you look at the fat is actually bigger, but look how easy it is to squish it. And, so the denser, so this is more like a rock. This is like a marshmallow. You could squeeze a marshmallow and do this. But if you look at the size, they're almost, identical. But this, even in my hand, it weighs way more than this. So this is probably about 5 pounds more than this. But when your body's losing weight, or actually losing fat, your body's building muscle because you're stimulating the muscle. So this is the motor of the body. So think of a car engine, and this is the gas that's in the gas tank. So the bigger, and I'm not saying in circumference, I'm saying in density, the bigger this muscle is, the more fuel it's going to use. So as this grows, the weight on the scale is going to go up. But what's going to happen is it's going to utilize more of the energy inside the muscle or inside the body because it's got to fuel a bigger motor. So this might start out as a 4-cylinder. Within 6 months, it's a V8. So a V8 uses way more gas than a little 4-cylinder. So this is your fuel tank that's inside the body that's actually going to convert and go in for fuel to the muscle. So yeah, don't pay attention to the scale. Pay attention to the way that your clothes fit and the way that you look in the mirror, because even though that you might be gaining weight, it's good weight and you're losing fat. As a matter of fact, if you gain weight while you're working out, it's going to be absolutely impossible for you to be gaining muscle or gaining fat. So you're actually gaining muscle. So if you're gaining weight, you're doing a good thing.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, I've been meaning to use those for a while, so this worked out perfect. But yeah, that's what I tell people all the time, especially females. Females always think that
horrible.
I give them like a program. I'm like, okay, you have to eat like, I don't know, 140 grams of protein a day, or maybe not even that. But they're like, I can't eat this much. I feel like I'm just gonna get fat. And I'm like, no, you're not gonna.
You're gonna gain muscle and you're gonna lose fat.
Yeah, you're actually gonna get smaller.
And that's what I was saying is a lot of my weight loss clients, they don't even eat their total daily energy expenditure, what they're supposed to eat. So their muscle is getting smaller and smaller. So now they got a little 4-cylinder on this huge body, and when they do consume something, it just gets stored as fat because they have no muscle, And then if they just do cardio with no workout, then they become skinny fat because the workout, they never got stimulation to build the motor. And then they get really small. But then when they go to eat normal again and quit the cardio, they blow up even bigger.
My online coach that I had when I went through my weight loss was Wes Watson. I don't like the guy now. He's kind of changed a lot. But anyway, I asked him, I said, hey, like, I don't have any cardio planned on my thing. And he's like, I don't want you guys to worry about cardio because you guys go out there and eat like crap and you think you can just go run a mile and then that's going to be it. And it's not how it is. So I don't schedule you guys for any cardio. It's all nutrition and weightlifting. He's like, you can do your cardio on your own, but I'm not scheduling it because you're going to just think that you can eat like crap. And I mean, like or love the guy, whatever you want. It's pretty solid. I mean, I give my clients cardio, but I understand his reasoning. Cardio is not gonna make up for a shitty diet.
It's really not. And a lot of people. So I use cardio for a blood flow. In prep I use it to lose weight, but with most of my clients, because any calorie that you burn on the treadmill, you're gonna probably replace. And any activity. Unless you're counting your steps. So say that you don't do cardio that day. You got 13,000 steps. You do cardio that day, you get 9,000 steps. So I use it more for blood flow so we can open up all those capillaries and everything and really stimulate, to get blood to the muscle. That's mostly what I use it for. Or I'll use it to, for an imbalance like for you because you're going to compete. So when you're on a strict diet and you only have, I think you have 2,800 calories, I'll take for every 10 minutes, I'll minus 100 calories off your total daily energy expenditure to add up to that 3,500 because I know that you're not consuming more calories.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to get hungry and have an extra, 500 calories. And then now that cardio you just did is out the window.
Right. One thing that really was interesting to me that when you were explaining to me was that on the days that you're not working out, your carbs should be lower because carbs are just a form of energy. Yep. And if you're not working out, you don't need that much more energy. And if you are eating carbs on your days off, then that's more likely to get stored as fat than on the days that you're actually working.
Yeah, and I think so. On the next one, I think I'm going to add fiber because you're going to have activity, because now we want to be muscle sparing. So we still want the carbohydrates to cater to the muscle, but we're going to add fiber so it's released slower instead of putting you in, I think I got you 100 on each or something. I can't remember off. I do a lot of diets, but I know that on your off days, I think I put a little graph on there to say minus from whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it says either, but you were telling me too that you add like greens to your rice to make it a complex carb. Then is that right?
Yeah. Well, now I add fiber. I get fiber from raw because, and this is another thing, is people, and this is another reason that there's a obese epidemic in the U.S. is we should be consuming at least 40 grams of fiber a day. We consume maybe 15, maybe 20. Yeah. You know, and so that's really not healthy for us because everything that we consume converts right into sugar. And that's why, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't know anybody that was diabetic. You know, maybe one, but now almost everybody's type 2 diabetic, you know, which is insane. And I really think, one, it's our food, but two, it's the fact that we don't add fiber to any of our foods.
Right.
You know?
What do you recommend the protein is for a person? I've heard like the 1 gram per pound. Is that about average for what you're looking for weight loss?
For weight loss, I go 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah, because the molecule is more complex. So to break the molecule down, you're burning about 2 calories. So you're really only getting 2 calories for the 1 gram.
Because your internal body has to heat up to break down the protein more, right? So even when your body's at rest.
Well, it's activity. So think of cellular activity. So activity takes energy, right? So take your hands and rub them together. That's energy. So it heats up, right? So it's called a thermogenesis. So a molecule that's not as complex, say it's only got like 3 or 4, it just converts a lot easier. So I go, if I have a weight loss, I'll go either 0.5, depending on how big they are. So a half a gram per body weight of carbohydrates, or I'll go 0.7. But usually I go 1.5 on the protein just to start it. And once we get the momentum going, then I could readjust. And I always readjust about every 30 days because everybody's body's different and they react different to different foods. So nationality. So some people's body, because of the nationality, respond good to fats. Some people don't. Some people respond better to carbohydrates, you know, so whatever energy consumption. And it really, I didn't know that till I went through college, till fundamentals of nutrition and stuff, is that what your DNA from your heritage is actually how your body breaks down food too. That's crazy, huh?
Yeah. So
like think of in India, they still eat all the same foods.
Lots of rice.
You know, Asians, you know. So now if I, as a kid, ate as much rice as an Asian, I would be a balloon. But their body actually utilizes it way better than ours because their body is accustomed to it.
Is there also a difference of when it comes down to like organic in food, or say like organic chicken versus non-organic chicken? Do you prefer like one or the other?
So for hormone balance and stuff like that, I prefer organic because, okay, so let me say this. If a girl was on drugs, do you think it would be okay for her to breastfeed if she was on meth?
No.
Okay, so we pump these cows full of hormones to keep them lactating year round, which is hormones, which is like steroids, but yet we allow all of our kids and us to drink milk.
Yeah.
You don't think that that's kind of odd? Or like we take cattle. So there's a steroid called Trembolin that was actually introduced for beef cattle so you could double the size of the beef. But they say, you know, they go so long without it, but it's still in the meat. So when we eat the meat, it's affecting our hormones.
Yeah.
You
know,
know,
we were just talking about that kind of too, about like everything they put in the food nowadays, and that's why so many men have a low testosterone.
Yeah.
You know I'm affected of it. I know a few people that I worked with out of the prison had it, and it seems like it's a lot more prevalent nowadays of like a low T, and people are getting on TRT and all these things. But then you look at all the fillers and everything that's going into the food and the microplastics.
Yep. And I 100%, I can't say for fact because I'm not a scientist, but I believe that it's caused from our food.
Yeah.
You know, and think of this. So when we had more farmers and more people that had like gardens at their house and stuff, it wasn't like this. And now that we're so populated and we're trying to mass product all this food, I mean, we got these chemists that are, I mean, it's working, it's making, you know, more food and stuff, but it's affecting the body in a horrible way.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you look at like just take a watermelon, like what they're actually supposed to look like in real life versus like what we have, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, a watermelon is about the same size as oh my gosh, cantaloupe. I'm all, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, about the size of a cantaloupe. Man, we got watermelons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, huge.
It's crazy. Which is one of the greatest things too to eat on a diet is watermelon. I love watermelon.
Oh yeah,
that's really good. But yeah, on the protein side, it's interesting though because people think like, oh, I can't eat that much, and then you show how much you can actually eat when you're eating clean, and you're like, I can't even eat this many calories or like 2,000 calories or whatever. But then you eat like a hamburger from McDonald's, and it's 1,200 calories plus the fries and everything else, you know.
And it's funny because so the first 2 weeks they struggle with it. But then after that first 2 weeks, their body's running more efficient. So it's utilizing it more to where they start getting hungry. They're like, man, at first, that was way too much food. Now, can I have some more?
Yeah.
It's crazy how the body, you know, and then that's when you know that your body's actually running right, you know, because it's actually utilizing what you're consuming, you know, to where it's like, okay, now we're on the right track.
So since you got a supplement store now, what do you think are some supplements that anybody can use? I think creatine is a good one.
Creatine's a good one. Fiber is a huge one. Digestive enzymes, probiotics, and these are just things to keep you healthy. I'm not, even though we sell it, I'm not a big fan of pre-workout. I am a fan of amino acids, you know, because that's really what a protein is a bunch of aminos, because it'll support, you know, muscle tissue. Proteins, a good protein, you know. And what I mean by a good protein is third-party tested to where you know it's not a bunch of fillers and stuff, and everything. So this is the other thing about our store is kind of like our gym. We're very unique. Everything that we have in that store is third-party tested. So we don't have any kind of like and I'm not talking bad about Muscle Farm, but I know the DeLucas, and they've told me themselves that it's shit, you know. So things like that, like no name proteins, even though it's more affordable and stuff, it's like, yeah, but it's you're getting half the protein and
what do you look for in a nutrient label on a protein?
On a protein, so two things. Like for me, I look at like does it have up to like say between 3 and 5 grams of leucine, because I'm a bodybuilder, so I want it, you know, for my body. Other things like for and so there's a difference between protein and a meal replacement. So for somebody that's like losing weight, a meal replacement has all the micronutrients labeled on it too, not just the protein. So that's a really, like muscle milk. Muscle milk is a meal replacement, and that's actually really, really good for weight loss clients, because if they're in a deficit, they're not just in a deficit of the protein and carbohydrates, they're in the deficit of the micronutrients, and nobody ever pays attention to the micronutrients because nobody talks about it. You know, because the popular things are, macros. What are your macros? What are your macros? What are your macros? Nobody says, hey, what are your micros? Are you hitting your macros? No, I mean, have you ever heard anybody say that?
No.
Yeah, so they're always worried about the protein, the carbohydrates, and the fats, and water. Water's actually a macronutrient too.
Yeah.
You know, but nobody ever talks about the micronutrients, making sure that you're getting enough vitamin D, enough C, enough, K, or even your omegas, you know. Like, hey, am I getting enough healthy fats? So if you go get your blood work done and you say, oh man, your cholesterol, and it's not high cholesterol because it's the ratio in between them. So if you have low HDL and low LDL, you're pretty good. If you got high HDL and high LDL, you're still pretty good. But if you got low HDL and high LDL, you're not in a good spot. Or if the ratio between them, because one balances out the other. So there's a lot of things that people just don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
no, it's huge. None of this stuff's taught to you at all.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of like just hopefully you know a guy or gym bro science or whatever, it's.
Well, and that's the other thing is I do want to say on your podcast, the things that you look on the internet, always look at where the studies were, like on what universities, because a lot of people will put stuff on the internet and you think it's factual, but there's really no evidence to back up those theories. So like studies that are done at Harvard or done at, whatever, then, and you can see what doctors, so every like true study will label where the study was done and what doctors did the study. So when you get online and you start reading stuff, don't take it, unless it's actually documented.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really appreciative that you sent me that documentary on all those bodybuilders dying from steroid use.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we've kind of talked here and there about, especially people just trying things that aren't aren't maybe tested or black market.
Well, they just don't even know. So here's the other thing that drives me nuts a little bit, and I'm definitely not an advocate for steroids. I never will be, and I just won't. I use steroids, but I would never tell somebody or recommend steroids. You're putting a foreign. So this is the thing: is kids want to be big. They want to look, jacked and everything. They don't know what a 19-nor is. They don't know what a DHT derivative is. They don't know any science behind it. They just know that their buddy said, "Hey, Trembolin." Trembolin is probably the most popular compound. Tren is probably the most popular compound on the market right now, but it is one of the most toxic. Nobody knows anything. Well, I'm not saying nobody, but a lot of the people that use it are younger kids that don't do any kind of like science research or the effects on the body or the effects on the liver, kidneys, heart, your cardiovascular,
or even getting blood work done.
Or getting blood work. So that's another thing. If you don't get blood work done, that's like throwing darts in the dark. How do you even know what your levels are, if you don't have your blood work done? And I'll tell you this, I'll look right in the camera, and it's not worth dying for. And people do die, or they end up with illnesses that last for the rest of their life, and it's really not funny because there's a lot of kids that are getting screwed up because of it, but nobody ever talks about it.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like you're going to take steroids and they're going to be huge either. They just think that you can just keep pumping yourself and you're going to get huge. You just have to have nutrition. You have to be working out.
Well, and I think you work even harder.
Yeah.
Because steroids, they give you the strength, but again, you got to be careful because your connective tissue. Look at how many bodybuilders have torn their bicep, torn their pec, torn their quad. Gabe in our gym, he tore his quad, on steroids. I mean, I think he had 4 plates on each side of the hack squat. That's a lot. Yeah. But they don't take in consideration of the things that they need to do to be on steroids, like liver support, keeping track of your blood pressure, kidney support, getting your blood work done, seeing what your estrogen levels are, making sure you're not getting boobs, from, look at like your libido, look at your prolactin, there's a lot. Your body's like a science or like a chemistry lab, and we're not scientists.
Yeah.
So it's.
And then I think on that documentary I was watching too was the diuretics.
The diuretics are
people, they were dying on diuretics.
Yeah, I don't use diuretics, and I don't recommend anybody to use diuretics.
And that just dries your body out. So then is that a heart problem then? Is that what happens?
So think of this. Water is the conductor for the nervous system, right? So if you're dehydrated, so is your heart. So what happens? There's not a conductor, so your heart has a rhythmic or however you say it.
Yeah.
Or just stops. And yeah, it's not, and nobody thinks it's going to happen to them till it happens.
So if someone wants to get big, what do they got to do?
Eat a lot, because I don't care how much steroids you're doing. Food is going to keep you more metabolic than any steroid there is. And I would push it all the way until you plateau for at least 2 years. And then if you plan on doing it as a career, then I would say do steroids. If it's not a career and it's just to look good, eat as much and diet right. I mean, there's
like clean bulk.
There is so many people that look good that, I mean, they're not jacked. But here's the other thing is being jacked really isn't that pretty. Like I'm 220 pounds. I'm 5'4". I look big, but I don't look pretty. I don't look like Chris Bumstead. I mean, Chris Bumstead's pretty jacked, but I mean, I don't look like a Calvin Klein model.
Yeah.
And
you were telling me that like bodybuilding technically isn't the most healthiest thing because you're
it's
putting
not
so much muscle on your body, and then
I'm 220 pounds, and my heart doesn't know the difference between fat and muscle.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say I'm a hypochondriac, but I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I go and get my blood work done a lot. That's why I'm good friends with Rebecca, and I go in just to make sure. And she's a doctor, and I'm pretty smart, so we have, pretty good conversation on, okay, maybe we should pull back on this, or okay, wait, this is looking a little bit, out of line. Let's, move this. So
what do you think about peptides?
Peptides, I'm a firm believer in. Peptides is a protein that's already in your body. As a matter of fact, I just got 2 books that I'm studying more on peptides because I believe them because it's not a foreign substance going into your body. It's a protein that's already in your body. You're just increasing that protein, But right now I'm a supporter of peptides. but I'm going to read these books and I'm going to be more of a supporter on some and maybe not others, because, they do different things and stuff like that. But yeah, I think if you're young and you want to get jacked, do some peptides.
Yeah. Is that something that you need to get blood work done as well?
I would. Yeah. Blood work's
safe.
always, blood work is mapping out your body.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you plan on going to Utah without a map, you're taking a gamble that you might
signs or anything.
You might end up in Sun Valley.
Right.
Yeah. So get a map of your body so you know the direction that you need to go.
Awesome, dude. You guys have anything going yet for you guys don't have a bunker page or anything to go and follow, but they can follow you guys on 3D Fitness and stuff, right? Yeah. I've been really appreciative just how God put everybody in my life and you, and I just happened to move into this house, and my wife happened to go on a walk and see your guys' cars, and then she's like, "Do you know anything about 3D Fitness?" And I was like, "No, I never heard of them." And that's the nice part is that like it is like a hole in the wall. Nobody knows about it, but I mean, it's nice because you never have to wait for equipment. And
there's no windows. Yeah. So once you go in, it's like you're shut off to reality.
Yep.
So you're just in your own little space.
The only problem is sometimes everybody knows everybody, and then you just I know I talk a lot, so I've started going in different times now, and I don't know that crowd, so I've been getting my stuff done. But
Crystal, she made me a shirt. If the headphones are on, I'm in my zone.
That's a great shirt
because I own the place, so people are like, hey, and it's really really important. Plus, I'm competing, I think in Philadelphia or somewhere in June or July. So it's very important for me to stay on track and get my workouts done. So sometimes I'll get frustrated and I'll be 2 hours into it and still have 2 exercise. I'm like, screw it. But yeah, she made me that shirt. She's a stud. She does all the apparel for 3D Fitness. Okay. Oh, and the bunker. Yeah, she's
BX, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I have a newfound appreciation just from my really first days of starting this prep, but I'm like, oh my gosh, man, it's honestly like I remember Garrett, he works out at the Mecca.
He's a good guy.
But he was a nurse at the prison, and I seen him always bringing in his like 6 meals, and I would talk to him. He's like, man, you think dieting is hard? Try eating all these meals in a day, and
that's where I'm at right now. Yeah. I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told Mary, man, I wish I could just do an IV at night and get all my nutrition.
Yeah.
Plus, I work so much and I do rice, but sometimes I'll be going so fast that I'll breathe one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, once I started doing those egg whites, just drinking the egg whites, I was like, this is better than having to cook them because I can just down these real quick.
And Mary, she puts it's a
sugar-free syrup. You're saying,
yeah.
No, that's cool, man. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be hell. It's going to suck for a little while, but
back to what you said about the cardio. It's funny because Mary, I heard her tell her client, she ate a donut or something and she pinched and she's all, but I did cardio. And Mary's all, you can't out cardio a donut.
Yeah.
You ate it, you're stuck with it. Doesn't matter how much cardio you do.
Yeah, you can't outwork a bad diet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Yeah.
We'll have to do some more just like on nutrition and stuff and just like little short segments, but I just wanted to get you back on, having actual decent cameras and telling your story. Last time it did really well, and I have thousands more followers now. So
isn't that so cool? Like I remember when you first started, I would tell you, Matt, don't worry, it'll happen. Just don't stop, and it'll happen because honestly, any entrepreneur knows that within the first 6 months to a year, man, it is intimidating and it's very scary. Plus, you have a family that you got to take care of, and you gave up a job with really, really good benefits to where, I mean, you took a huge leap of faith, but now you got, your following is, growing. Your online business is starting to, pick up. I mean, yeah, just don't give up and just keep pushing. Kind of like when I was down in the bunker, I would dig a little and I'd be like, man, I've been down here 2 hours and I haven't gotten nothing done. Yeah. But then I'd be like, well, I ain't got nothing else to do. I'll go down there and now look at it. Right. Like it is, and I'm not saying it because it's mine. I'm just saying I've never seen anything like it. It looks like a dang bunker.
Yeah.
I mean, we got military ammo boxes on the ground with like
all the sandbags
protein bar,
stuff,
sandbags, on the walls. We got like a mannequin that's all in fatigues with legit patches from the military.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I think it's all about too the people you hang around yourself with and you surround yourself, the environment, right? Like getting around people like you or getting around other people that are just like, man, you can do this. It's gonna be hard, but like don't quit. If you need help, like come and ask me. I'll help you out. And I've been really grateful for your mentorship and stuff. So
And Mary pointed this out that I guess I kind of knew, but I didn't really know. Like, if you look at everything I own and everything, it's all unique. Like, but this is honestly like how normal businesses go. You take a little bit of this, you copy that, you take a little bit of this, you copy that, and you form into your own business. Mine is all original. Like, look at my gym. There's no gyms like it. Like, it's just very, you know,
yeah,
the bunker too. Like, and I think that is, I think it's a really good quality, but at the same time, it's a scary quality because I can't look at anybody else and see if they've made it, successfully.
yeah,
Because I'm doing something that I've never even seen.
yeah,
So I'm like, and Mary, when we were down at the bunker, she's all, "Wow, can you believe you did it?" I'm all, "Wow." I go, "We did it."
yeah,
And she's all, "Yeah." And you didn't copy anybody. You made all this on your own. It's very unique. I'm like, "Wow, yeah." And I think maybe that's why it kind of is a little bit scary because I know what I want and I know, what I want to make, but is are other people going to think it's cool?
yeah,
But obviously they do because everybody comes down and checks out the bunker.
yep. All right, so March 15th.
Yeah, March 15th. There'll be a bunch of gas stuff, some IFBB pros. The lady that won figure, and I feel horrible because I can't remember her name, but Corey, he trains a lot of the IFBB pros. He's bringing some pros in, and he's been a great support. He's been a really, really good guy. Kerrigan, his soon-to-be wife, she's a stud too. So they've been really, really cool.
Yeah, they're really awesome people.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.